Welcome to Lantern Light. There is nothing you need to remember and nothing you need to keep track of. You may drift in and out of the words. The story will remain quiet beside you. You are walking the last few steps of a narrow coastal path, your feet finding the way forward almost by themselves. The firm scrape of the dirt track begins to change beneath you, the sound softening, and then you feel the first gentle crunch of pebbles underfoot. The cove comes into view all at once, enclosed, still, cupped by low, red sandstone cliffs on either side. This is one of the coastal sleep journeys, a place to rest without effort. There is no pressure here, nothing to keep track of, nothing you need to follow closely. You are welcome to drift whenever you wish. The cove spreads out before you now, wide enough to feel open, sheltered enough to feel held. The cliffs rise on either side, close but not steep or imposing. They are rounded, worn smooth by time, their color a deep burnt red in the last of the day's light. The stone looks almost warm from here, as though it has been holding the sun all afternoon and is only now beginning to let it go. The sea fills the lower half of the view. It is calm, barely moving, its surface catching the sun at a low angle and turning it copper and gold. The light lies flat on the water, barely rippling, as if the sea has decided to rest. The color spreads wide across the small bay, unbroken, softening everything it touches. You stand for a moment at the edge of the stones, simply taking in the scene. A pair of gulls drifts silently overhead, tracing wide, unhurried arcs before sliding away behind the cliff. There is no one else in the cove, just the light, the stone, the water, and the air moving gently around you. You step forward onto the pebbles, feeling them shift and settle under each footstep. The sound of it is soft, plural, like something rearranging itself to make room. The stones are smooth, rounded by years of tide and weather, and they give a little beneath your weight before finding their balance again. You walk slowly toward the water's edge, close enough to see the shallow tide drawing back across the lowest stones, leaving them dark and gleaming. You choose a place to sit, somewhere between the water and the cliff, and you lower yourself down gently. The pebbles press against the backs of your thighs, shifting a little until they find a comfortable arrangement. You feel the coolness of the stones through your clothes, and you feel the slight give as your body settles into place. The red sandstone cliff is close enough now that you can feel warmth radiating from it. All the heat it has gathered through a long summer day is releasing slowly now, easing out into the evening air. It reaches you in soft waves, gentle against your shoulder, your side, the edge of your arm. The stone is giving back everything it has held. You rest your hands on the pebbles beside you. They are cool to the touch, smooth under your palms, each one shaped by the patient work of water and time. Some are small enough to roll beneath your fingertips. Others are larger, stable, holding their place among the rest. You do not need to do anything but sit here, feeling the textures beneath your hands, the warmth at your back, the openness before you. The light is beginning to change. The copper and gold spread across the water are softening now, turning paler, edging toward rose. The sun is dropping lower behind the cliffs, and the air is cooling gently at the edges, soft against your skin. You can smell the salt, clean and faintly mineral, and beneath that, the warm scent of stone, the thread of seaweed drying somewhere along the tide line. A small wave draws across the stones just ahead of you, slow and unhurried. You hear the quiet drag of water pulling back, the soft rattle of pebbles rearranging themselves, and then the silence that follows. Another wave comes, just as gently. The water settles, and so do you. You are held here by the shape of the cove, by the cliffs on either side, by the pebbles beneath you, and the warmth still rising from the stone. There is nothing you need to reach for. The evening is unfolding at its own pace, and you are part of it, resting inside it, breathing with it. The light continues to soften. The water is losing its copper glow now, turning quieter, cooler, beginning its slow drift toward gray. And you are here, sitting on the pebbles, watching it change. You're sitting now among the pebbles, facing the water. The cove holds you gently on all sides, its curved arms of red sandstone rising to either edge of the horizon, sheltering this small crescent of shore from the wider world beyond. The cliffs seem to gather sound and hold it close, so that the voice of the sea feels louder here, more present, more intimate than it might on an open beach. Each wave arrives in its own time, sighs softly across the stones, and pulls back again. The rhythm is unhurried and entirely its own, asking nothing of you, needing nothing from you. Beneath you, the pebbles shift slightly as you settle your weight more fully among them. They are smooth, worn round over long years by the tide, shaped by water and time into forms that fit together without effort. They vary in color: gray, pale cream, a deep greenish brown. A few are threaded with a thin, white line of quartz that catches the light. You might pick one up if you wish. Turn it in your hand. It is cool against your palm, and it has a weight to it, a quiet density that settles there like something content. The surface is entirely smooth. You can feel the years in it, the patient work of water. You can set it down again whenever you choose, and it will rest among the others as though it had never been moved. The copper light is still on the water, but it has begun its slow change. The brightest gold has softened slightly, shifting toward a warmer rose at the horizon, where the sun is lowering itself behind the western cliffs. The surface of the sea mirrors this without effort, holding the color the way still water does, evenly, completely, as though the water and the sky have agreed on it together. There is no wind to disturb the arrangement. The light simply rests there, coloring the waves as they pass beneath it, giving each one a brief glow before it fades again into the general shine. The salt air moves in small, barely perceptible currents across your face. It is cool now at the edges, but not cold. This is the coolness of a late summer evening, a gentle exchange, the day's heat giving way without haste to the blue hour that is beginning to gather in the east. Breathe in slowly through your nose. The air carries salt, clean and sharp, and something faintly mineral from the wet stones at the tide line where the last wave reached and withdrew. There is the faintest dry warmth still rising from the cliff at your back, a thread of sun-baked stone mingling with the cool, and beneath it all, the rhythm of the waves continues. The water gathers a little distance out, barely forming, barely a wave at all. It is only a slow swell that thickens as it moves toward the shore. It reaches the pebbles, runs thinly across them, turns white and quiet at the edges, then draws back with a long, soft rattle of stone on stone. Then silence. Then it begins again. The sound is steady, reliable, a measured breathing that the cove has kept for longer than you can imagine. You do not need to count the waves. You do not need to name them. They simply continue, one after another, each one complete in itself. The water settles, and so do you. The warmth in the sandstone cliff is still present at your shoulder and along your arm. It is a residual warmth, patient, steady, not the active heat of afternoon sun, but something quieter, something that has been stored and is now being given away slowly into the cooling air. You can lean slightly toward it if you wish and feel it at the side of your face, a gentle presence that asks for nothing in return. The stone has been holding this warmth all day, and it offers it to you now without condition. A single gull calls once, far off, behind the eastern arm of the cliff. The sound travels clearly in the still air, a long descending note that fades into the distance and then is gone. The cove fills back in with its own quiet. The waves continue. The light continues its slow shift from gold to rose. The pebbles rest beneath you, cool and smooth, fitting themselves to your shape. You do not need to hold yourself in any particular way. The stones will adjust. They have been doing this for a very long time. You watch the water gather and release, gather and release. Each wave is slightly different from the one before, but only slightly. The differences do not matter. What matters is the constancy beneath the variation, the reliable return of water to shore, the soft rattle of pebbles as the tide pulls back, the silence that follows, and then the beginning again. Your breath can follow this rhythm if it chooses, or it can keep its own time. Either way is fine. The sea does not require your participation. It will continue whether you watch it or not. The rose light deepens slightly at the horizon, warming the furthest edge of the water. Closer in, the sea is beginning to take on a cooler tone, a pale gray blue that will deepen as the evening comes on. But that is still some time away. For now, there is only this, the light, the stone, the salt air, the waves arriving and departing, and the pebbles beneath you, holding you without effort, without strain. You are exactly where you need to be. The light is continuing its slow shift. The copper has moved further toward rose, and the surface of the water is beginning to show the first pale silver in the deeper parts of the cove where the light catches differently. The change is gradual. There is no single moment when one color becomes another. It simply continues without effort, without announcement. The warmth is still there, but it has softened at the edges, thinning into something quieter, something that asks less of your attention and gives just as much. You watch it move across the surface. the way it catches on the gentle rise and fall of each wave, the way it pools in the hollows between. There is rose now where there was copper. There is silver beginning to appear where there was rose, and beneath it all, the water itself remains unchanged, steady and salt and endless. The tide is rising. This is not dramatic. It is simply the water doing what it always does at this hour. The thin edge of each wave reaches a little further up the pebbles than the one before. The stones nearest the water are wet now, darker in color, and they catch a little of the remaining light. They gleam softly as though polished, and the line where wet meets dry shifts with each wave, climbing slowly, patiently, without haste. You can hear the difference in the sound. The wave crosses a little more stone now, and the rattle as it draws back is fuller, longer by a breath or two. The water knows the shape of every pebble it touches. It has touched them 10,000 times before, and it touches them again now, the same patient motion over and over without tiring. The air smells of salt and wet stone. There is a coolness beginning to move through it, gentle and unforced, but the warmth has not entirely left. The stone beneath you still holds the sun. The cliff to your side still holds the sun. The air itself seems caught between the two, soft and temperate, neither warm nor cool, simply present against your skin. Draw your attention downward now to the body resting on the pebbles. The stones have shaped themselves, or seem to have. The place where the weight has rested has settled into a kind of gentle fit, not perfectly smooth, but oddly comfortable. The small irregularities of the stone cushioning rather than pressing. Your shoulder rests against one rounded pebble. Your hip finds the space between two others. The curve of your ribs follows the uneven surface without resistance. It is as though the stones have softened, though you know they have not. It is your body that has softened into them. The pebble still resting in your hand is warm now from being held. You can feel the heat of your own palm reflected back, a small loop of warmth that belongs neither to the stone nor to you, but to the holding itself. The surface is smooth under your thumb. You do not move. You simply hold, and the warmth gathers in that quiet space between skin and stone. Your breath has fallen into the rhythm of the water without any instruction to make it do so. You notice it now, the slow wave arriving, the settling as it spreads across the pebbles, the brief and full, the drawback steady and long. the quiet that follows. Your body breathes alongside this without being asked to. The chest rises and falls. The shoulders drop a little further with each breath out. There is no effort in it. The tide breathes. You breathe. The rhythm is shared, gentle, unbroken. The sandstone cliff has grown quieter in color. It is still red, still warm to look at, but the most vivid tones have softened. The stone holds a muted amber now, dusky and calm. The texture of it is visible even from a distance. Rough-grained, layered, ancient. The horizontal lines where sediment settled over unimaginable spans of time run across the face of the cliff like lines drawn in ochre and rust. But there is nothing demanding in it. It is simply there, solid and unhurrying, standing as it has stood, warmed by the last light of the day. You rest against the pebbles and look toward the water. The rose light is beginning to gray slightly at the edges now, not at the center, but along the line where the water meets the sky. The color is thinning slowly from the edges inward, the way light drains from the day. It does not disappear. It simply recedes, degree by gentle degree, leaving something softer in its place. The water settles, and so do you. The sounds in the cove have narrowed. There are no more gulls. There is only the wave arriving, crossing the pebbles and receding. The small rattle of stone against stone as the water pulls back has a particular quality at this stage of the evening, cleaner somehow. Each individual stone is briefly audible before the sound fades back into the general quiet. You can hear one pebble tap against another. You can hear the shift and tumble of smaller stones beneath the larger ones. You can hear the water pulling through the gaps between them, a soft hiss that dissolves into silence, then nothing, then the wave again. Your eyes rest on the water. Your body rests on the stone. Your hand rests on the pebble it holds. Everything has found its place. The light continues to soften. The tide continues to rise. The waves continue their patient arriving and leaving. And you continue to rest here, held by the stone, cooled by the air, watched over by the quiet cliff. There is salt on your lips. There is warmth beneath your shoulders. There is the sound of water moving over stone, and there is the sound of your breath moving in and out, so alike now that you cannot say which began first. It does not matter. They belong to the same rhythm, the same slow evening, the same cove filling with quiet and shadow and the last traces of rose. The copper is nearly gone now. What remains is softer, paler, a memory of warmth rather than warmth itself. The silver in the deeper water has spread. The gray is coming, slow and patient, from the edges inward. It does not rush. It does not announce itself. It simply arrives, the way the tide arrives, the way the breath arrives, steady and sure. You do not need to watch for it. You do not need to mark the moment when the rose becomes gray. You simply rest here, and the light does what light does at this hour. It fades, it softens, it gives way to something quieter still. The pebbles beneath you are cool now where they are not touching your body. The ones that press against your back, your hip, your arm are warm. The difference is slight but perceptible, a gentle contrast that requires no thought. You feel it the way you feel the air, the way you feel the sound of the water. It is simply there, woven into the moment, part of the fabric of this resting. The cliff stuns in its muted amber. The water spreads in its thinning rose. The pebbles shift and settle with each wave. And you remain here, breathing with the tide, held by the stone, part of the evening, part of the cove, part of the slow and gentle turning of the light toward gray. The water is turning gray, not dramatically, not in a way that marks itself as change, but in the same gentle way it has been shifting since you first arrived. The copper has almost gone from the center of the cove now. A faint rose remains at the far edge of the water, near the horizon, where the sky still holds a little warmth, but most of the surface has quieted into silver and now into the first soft gray of evening. The water is turning gray. This is what you notice now, if you notice anything at all. The copper has faded. The rose is fading. The gray is settling across the surface like breath across glass. The cove is becoming more itself, quieter, more enclosed, held gently in the dusk. The pebbles beneath you are still there, smooth, cool, their weight familiar now. The one in your hand has warmed through. You have been holding it long enough that it feels as though it belongs there. The ground beneath you is stable and solid, even as everything above it softens in color and light. The stones hold you. They shift very slightly when you breathe, settling around the shape of your body, and then they are still again. The waves continue. They have not changed. They are not smaller. They are not fewer. The rhythm has simply become so familiar that it requires no attention to follow. It is there. It has always been there. The sound of water crossing pebbles and drawing back. The brief, the return. The water is turning gray. The center of the cove is gray now. The rose at the horizon is paler. The sky above is soft and without detail, holding the last of the day without effort. The water reflects this. It does not shine. It does not catch the light. It simply rests, gray and calm, inside the curve of the land. The pebbles are cool beneath your hands, smooth, rounded by water and time. The one you hold is warm. The others, where your palms rest against the ground, are cool but not cold. They are simply stones, doing what stones do when the evening comes, holding their shape, holding you. The salt air is cooler now. It moves across your face and the backs of your hands in slow, barely noticeable currents. It is not cold. It is simply the air of an evening by the sea, doing what such air does when the day is nearly over. Settling, softening, carrying the smell of salt and the faintest trace of the warm stone that has been cooling for the past hour. The waves draw across the pebbles. They return. The rhythm is there, steady and quiet, filling the space around you. You do not need to listen for it. It is simply present, like the ground beneath you, like the stone in your hand. The water is turning gray. Most of the surface now is gray. The rose has almost left the horizon. The copper is gone. The water rests in the gray light of dusk, held inside the cove, moving gently with the waves that cross and return, cross and return. The cliff to the side is barely visible in its detail now. It is a presence. Its warmth is still slightly perceptible, radiating from the stone that has held the sun all afternoon. Its mass is solid and close, but the color has gone to a quiet rust in the dim light, and it no longer draws the eye. Everything in the cove has grown quieter without anything having left. The pebbles beneath you, the water turning gray, the waves crossing and returning, the stone in your hand, warmed now and familiar, the ground solid and still. The water settles, and so do you. The air moves slowly across your face, cool, soft, carrying salt. The day is nearly over. The water has turned gray. The cove holds you in its curve, quiet and enclosed, and there is nothing you need to do but rest here on the stones and let the evening come. The waves continue, the same rhythm, the same quiet sound of water moving across pebbles and drawing back. The brief, the return. It has not changed. It will not change. It is simply there, filling the space, filling the silence, as constant as breath. The water is gray now, soft gray, pale gray, the gray of evening, settling over a sheltered cove. The copper is gone. The rose is almost gone. The water rests, and the sky rests above it, and the land curves around both, holding them gently as the light fades. The pebbles are cool, smooth. The one in your hand is warm. The ground beneath you is solid. The waves cross and return. The air moves softly. The water has turned gray. Everything is quieter now, not because anything has stopped, but because the rhythm has become so familiar that it no longer asks for your attention. The waves are there. The pebbles are there. The gray water is there. The evening is there. You are there, resting on the stones, breathing slowly, held by the ground and the quiet and the rhythm that continues without effort. The water is turning gray. The water has turned gray. The cove is soft with dusk, and the waves cross the pebbles and draw back, and the stone in your hand is warm, and the air is cool, and everything rests. The waves, the pebbles, the gray water, the quiet, the breath, the warmth in the stone. The water is gray. The cove is still, and you rest here, held gently as the evening settles around you. The water is gray now. The cove is still. Everything that was here at the beginning is still here. The pebbles, the cliff, the tide, the salt air, but they are quieter now, held in the soft gray of a late summer dusk, and there is no reason to attend to any of them particularly. They are simply present as you are present, resting together in the gentle dimness that has settled over everything. The body is heavy and still on the stones. The pebble in your hand is smooth and warm, fitting perfectly into the curve of your palm. The breath moves in and out without effort, falling with the water, rising and settling over and over without needing to be guided or counted. It finds its own rhythm, as natural as the tide itself. The wave arrives. It crosses the stones with a soft, drawn-out whisper. It recedes. The return. Nothing changes. Nothing needs to change. The warmth from the cliff is still present, steady, patient, the kind of warmth that does not ask for anything. It is simply there, at the edge of awareness, as reliable as the stone itself. You can feel it if you choose to, or you can let it fade into the background of all the other quiet things that surround you now. The gray water, the slow breath, the weight of the body on the rounded stones, the salt air, cool and clean, the wave and the quiet after the wave, and then the wave again. Your shoulders rest more deeply into the pebbles. Your hands are open and relaxed. The stone in your palm has become part of you, or perhaps you have become part of it, warm and smooth and still. There is no difference now between resting and being held. The light continues to soften. The gray deepens, not into darkness, but into a kind of gentle absence of detail. The line where the water meets the sky blurs and fades. The pebbles lose their individual shapes and become simply the surface beneath you, solid and dependable. Another wave crosses the stones. The sound is so familiar now that it feels like part of the silence. The tide rises slowly, patiently, one wave at a time. There is no hurry in it. There has never been any hurry. Your breath follows the water, in and out, rising and settling. The rhythm is so gentle that you cannot say where one breath ends and the next begins. The warmth from the cliff, the cool air against your face, the weight of your body on the stones, all of it held together in the quiet, gray stillness of the cove. The water settles, and so do you. Nothing more is needed. The cove continues. The tide continues its slow, unhurried rising. The dusk continues its quiet deepening. And somewhere in the middle of all this steadiness, held between the warmth of the stone and the soft sound of the water, you may simply Let the evening carry you the rest of the way. The wave, the breath, the gray water and the gray sky and the stones beneath you, all resting together. Nothing to do, nothing to follow, only this softness, this stillness, this gentle fading into rest.